And to think, I really thought that Wilson Fisk changed. Guess not. Alright, so as we all know, Daredevil Born Again, Season 1 finale just finished this week, and I'm going to cover all the spoilers of this show, so if you've not completed it, make sure to finish the show and then come back to this video. Let's get into it. Now, first, I'm going to go over the finale specifically for Daredevil Born Again Season 1, and then after that, I will give my full review, thoughts, and opinions on the entire season as a whole. Okay, first and foremost, when it comes to the finale, I loved it. I thought it was really good. And again, we're going to the spoilers, so I'm going to go right into the biggest thing and that stood out to me in this episode, which I think is going to stand out for a lot of people, is the Kingpin smashing or ripping the jaw off the head kill. That was a Terrifier 3, Terrifier 2, a Terrifier Arctic Cloud level gore effect kill with, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers crushing the head. That was insane. That was absolutely insane when you really think about the fact that this is a Marvel Disney Plus show. Now, we get it that it was rated R and this and that, but the whole show as a whole didn't really show anything nowhere even close to as graphic as that. Really not even that bloody at all throughout the show. And they started to build a little bit throughout the show with, the Punisher coming in and he's Frank Castle's doing his thing and killing people and they're showing blood. But, as you're watching it, I'm like, some of it could be practical and a lot of it could just be CGI. So I'm like, I'm not that impressed. But the way they did that kill, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. To me, that seemed like it was practical. The way, I mean, it was too gory. And if it's not, I mean, amazing CGI then. So whatever. That kill, that gore effect was gnarly. So gnarly for a superhero, a Marvel MCU project. This is MCU now. This is an MCU canon event of Kingpin, Wilson Fisk ripping this guy's skull, detaching his face from his body. Insane. The rest of the episode as a whole was really good. We get to finally see the Punisher and Daredevil collab together and really go at it. Frank Castle, again, was doing his thing. Daredevil doing his thing with their whole yin and yang of, don't kill. No, we got to kill these guys. And they're back and forth. We had Karen Page come back, which is really, really cool. There's just so much to unpack in this show and this episode. A lot of people think it's the best episode of the season. I need to rewatch it to really gather it, and there's just so much to process. But I do think that where we build and where we finish off with Kingpin and the task force and where Daredevil's at and what he needs to do. There's already been leaks of the costumes for Daredevil Born Again Season 2, which looks really, really cool. A lot of people are excited about it. I'm excited for the future of the show. The show as a whole of the first season, I heard so many different mixed opinions. Some people like certain episodes. Some people liked others more than others. And, I mean, I guess that's every show, right? But there was something that was reported saying that the season, or episode 1, and then 8 and 9 were made by the same creative team, and then 2 through 7 was a different tone of creators that or directors that made those shows, and you can kind of see it. And some people were saying, "Oh, 1, 8, and 9 are so much better, and the 2 through 7 is garbage." I don't agree. I think all of it was pretty solid. I actually liked a lot of it. I thought the Muse storyline was really, really fun, really, really interesting. I get it. I keep hearing that, like, oh, apparently it's not comic accurate, blah, blah, this and that. But maybe they reconcile that storyline in the next season, right? And if not, whatever. I don't personally care that much because didn't really know Muse too much, but I thought what they did with him was pretty cool and unique, and it fit the story they were trying to tell. I think the episode 5, the bank heist scene, was really, really fun. It's like a nice little television piece where it reminds you of like a cartoon when you're a kid and you're like, oh, you come home after school and like, I want to watch a superhero film, and you like put something on when you're watching TV, and eating your dinner after eating or going to school or whatever. That's the kind of vibe it gives, and it's just fun. You get a little bit more of that Easter eggs that Daredevil is in the MCU now, having Kamala, Miss Marvel's dad, introduced in that bank heist. I think that episode's really fun, really underrated, and Daredevil Matt Murdock is like just slowly being born again to coming back to his ways of Daredevil. So as he was trying to get away from it in the previous episodes or the past year since the big news of Foggy's death. That was a very, very controversial thing to start the show with. They really went there. And should they have done it? I don't know. But they did it. And I think it's just serving the storyline of where Daredevil, Matt Murdock, is going to play his role in a more darker version, possibly moving forward, and just being united in this MCU world. And that's the decision I made. I will say that I did not rewatch the Daredevil first three Netflix seasons in preparation for Born Again. So my memory of Foggy isn't super ingrained in me right now. Like, I obviously remember who he is. He was one of my favorite characters in the show. I did love Foggy. I do remember loving Foggy, but I'm not super attached to it. My love for this show, the Daredevil first three seasons, isn't as deep as a lot of people's are. I like the show, don't get me wrong, but it's not a show that I was constantly rewatching. I watched it for the first time 3 years ago. I watched all three seasons and haven't really revisited it in preparation for this. So my obsession of the characters isn't the same. So I get it if you're deeply offended of them killing off Foggy like that. It probably is disrespectful, but at the same time, I kind of get it because it's it's like a way to start fresh, but also a continuation. They needed to find that balance. Like Daredevil is in the MCU right now, and whatever. This is the route they decided to take, and the whole arc of Daredevil and Kingpin being, kind of put away for a little while after the aftermath of season three, because the show, the last season of it came out years before this, right? So they needed to come up with something to make sense to introduce their characters now and what they've been doing while the MCU's been going on. Which that's still the thing that's a little confusing because at the time they were never really a part of the MCU. I'm curious to see if they ever mention Kingpin, Matt Murdock, the events of the Avengers and Endgame and all those things. Will that ever come into play? I think they'll be asking for trouble getting too deep into it, and I think they know that, so that's why they don't really do it. But I still am curious of if they ever will. I mean, they had one little snippet of Kingpin mentioning Spider-Man, I believe, early in the season of Daredevil Born Again. So we're alluding to these things where Kingpin's mentioning that. Obviously, we saw Daredevil in No Way Home. He had a brief cameo. And we saw Kamala, Miss Marvel's dad, in this past season. And technically, Matt Murdock's Daredevil was an episode of She-Hulk, which I need to rewatch that one episode specifically again, just to see what that means for Daredevil, because they don't reference that really at all, right? He technically hooked up with She-Hulk in a She-Hulk episode, which I want to figure out the timeline on that because that's pretty crazy. Hated the She-Hulk show. That show was absolutely garbage, but that episode I thought was pretty fun, and I thought Daredevil was kind of cool in it. Obviously different and more lighter or whatever, but it was fun. It was a fun episode. But yeah, obviously I'm going all over the place. Overall, I like the show. I think everything they did made sense. I'm excited for the future, and that's the point of a show. It's a lot different than a movie, to where the shows are each episode supposed to make you interested in finding out, of peeling back the layers of what's going to unfold in the future. And I think each episode of the show basically did that. The only little break that they really had was the episode 5 Big Cuts episode, like I said. But they were smart and knew that that wouldn't be good enough for people, so they put 5 and 6 in the same night, right, to continue the storyline, but also have a fun little, episodic break. I think that's the term. And I liked it. It was a nice little fresh restart, as I said. The rest of the show was very good. The characters, it's not the same as Foggy. It's not the same as Karen. It's not the same as a lot of the characters. It's definitely a lot more exciting when we get Frank Castle come back, and the dialogue scene in episode 4 between him and Matt Murdock was great. It was peak, right? And having Frank come back was also great. I like the little him escaping at the end. I'm excited to see what he does. I think I heard that there's supposed to be a Punisher, like, not series, but like a special, like just a 45, 50-minute special. That sounds really cool. And I'm actually kind of hyped for that, like in the idea of maybe not just watching a whole season of a show again, just an episode. Because I'm thinking maybe it's a whole episode of the Punisher just going off on the task force, and I wonder how that will tie into Daredevil season 2 of Born Again. I gotta look up to see what comes out first. I'm assuming and hoping that the Punisher special comes out before season 2 of Born Again. That'd be pretty cool. But I love the Punisher. The Punisher's so cool. A lot of people seem to like really downgrade Daredevil season 2, the original Daredevil season 2. And to me, I that season always stood out to me because that was like the Punisher season, and I loved Punisher so much in that show in Daredevil, and I loved the Punisher, John Berthel's Punisher, his show. So anytime he's on screen, I'm locked in, I'm dialed in, and his back and forth with Daredevil is such a good dynamic. But yeah, Kingpin was really great. I loved the dynamic of what they did in this show, showing the parallels between Daredevil and Kingpin. That was the one unique thing throughout the entire show, that every time one of them was going through something, the other one was going through something similar, but the opposite, obviously, the counterpart of each other. And we saw that unfold so many different times when Daredevil first came back out and he's fighting Muse for the first time, and then Kingpin, like, no longer Wilson Fisk, the mayor, is coming out as Kingpin and, fighting that guy who hooked up with Vanessa in his little cage dungeon thing. Just peeling back the layers more and more into the insanity of they can't escape who they truly are, and eventually they're going to let the monster out of the cage. And that was kind of what the show was, kind of the story of the show was the beginning of the season. Those two sat down talking to each other, and they're both saying, we're done with our old ways, blah, blah. You mind your business, I'll mind mine, and we're going to do things differently now. But they both, slowly but surely, it was eating at them. And then by the final episode, they're just full on back to how they both are. Vigilante and Kingpin mobster. Full force, and then now, next, like I said, the next season, we're not looking back. Another standout character is Daniel Blake, the new guy who basically kisses Kingpin's butt. He was funny and goofy and kind of just whatever throughout the beginning episodes, but by the end of it, he takes a crazy turn, and he's actually pretty twisted in his own right, and showing like the perfect like mentor-mentee relationship between him and Wilson Fisk, to where he's like threatening BB Yorick, and he seems like a threat now. So that's a problem. The other assistant, Sheila, the reason why that the commissioner got killed, she was the reason, which I'm curious to see how she's going to feel when she find out. I mean, I think she already knew that he died, but I don't know if I don't think she was in that scene when his head was getting ripped off, so she's going to feel some type of way if she heard how it went down. So she should feel pretty bad, because she really stabbed that guy in the back. Two more characters that I don't want to leave off. White Tiger in the very beginning of the show was a really interesting character, and it was a great use of Matt Murdock's story arc and the court scene and blah, 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 blah. White Tiger was pretty cool. Last but not least, Heather, his new relationship that he had throughout the show. I didn't really like it. I thought she was a good character. I thought it was interesting throughout the show. But by the end of it, she got on my nerves. Like, her entire mindset of, like, hating vigilantes and blah, blah. I mean, it's set up perfectly to be on the mayor's side. I think Kingpin hired her to be, like, a mental health consultant for, for him in his mayorship, whatever you maybe call it. I'm curious to see how that plays out. Obviously, Matt needs to go back to his OG people. He needs to go back to Karen. He needs to go back to, all the people that are actually trustworthy, because this Heather chick clearly is not it. I mean, Daredevil saves her life against Muse, and then she goes, Daredevil didn't save me. I saved me. It's like, yeah, you helped a little bit, but like, if Daredevil didn't show up, you were not going to do nothing. You were going to die. You were going to die. You shot him while Daredevil is fighting him off after you were knocked out and basically gonna die. So she's kind of infuriated for that. That's the one thing I see that's being memed everywhere. That was enough to really take it down. And then since that point, she's arguing with Matt Murdock throughout the rest of the series, and I'm curious to see what they do with her. Like I said, not a bad rated character, but an annoying one. Okay, so that's it. Leave a comment down below. What did you think of Daredevil Born Again Season 1? Did you like it? How do you think it compares to the previous Netflix series? Do those ones, are they so great that this one feels like complete crap? Or did you like the new direction? I get it. This is the thing. You guys got to understand that not everything's going to be able to live up to the hype of what your old things are, this and that. But did you take anything out of it that you think is optimistic? And maybe you didn't like this one, but maybe you saw potential to maybe the next season will get things right. Because that's the one thing I do think the next season will be a lot better than this season. I enjoyed this season. I really didn't think there was any bad episodes. I wasn't like obsessed with every single episode. Like, this isn't my favorite thing in the world, but I think it's pretty good, and it's definitely one of the best MCU series projects we've ever gotten, right? I think it's arguably the best. It's really only between, in my opinion, like Loki. I liked Hawkeye a lot. It's been a few years since I watched that. A lot of people like WandaVision. That's a pretty good show. But a lot of this MCU series aren't very good. I'm not sure if I'm missing any others. Some people are fans of others, but those are the ones that really stood out to me. Obviously, most people universally like Loki. Like I said, WandaVision seems to be pretty popular. And then I personally remember really liking Hawkeye when that came out. So Daredevil Born Again is easily in the conversation, if not the best. And the rated R nature to it, they didn't hold back, especially in that final episode. Like I said, with the kingpin kill, that's the thing that's gonna stand out to me. I'm like, wow, they really did that. That's crazy. And just like the Penguin, where everyone goes, "Where's Batman in all this?" The real question is, where's Spider-Man in all this? But I'm gonna leave that to another video. So if you want to hear my thoughts on Spider-Man and the possibilities of being in Daredevil Born Again Season 2, or is they even going to acknowledge the fact that he's not around while New York City is having a blackout and riots and Kingpin's the mayor or Wilson Fisk is the mayor and all this crazy vigilante stuff while Spider-Man himself is technically one, right? So comment down below if you would like me to make a video on that, because that's a pretty important topic. Okay, that's it. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm out.